Hey guys, this week's interview for the DotP One-on-One is featuring Baumi. So Baumi is a streamer. If you're unfamiliar with him, he does a lot. He's entertaining, in my humble opinion. I scoped out a lot of his streams right before this interview, of course, to prep for it. And I'll admit I wasn't aware of who Baumi was, except through maybe tidbits I'd hear here and there. I felt like I recognized his name, I guess, is maybe the most important thing. And after watching his stream, he kind of has this like stream of consciousness thing going on when he plays. He talks constantly. He's got a pretty charming German accent. He plays a lot of custom games. But when I had him on and I went to ask folks about Baumi, I got maybe the most like mixed reviews that I've ever received whenever I ask folks. Because occasionally what I'll do is I'll go out and I'll say, hey so-and-so, or hey dot peeps, in the dot p Discord, I'm having so-and-so on the show. Who, what should I ask that person? What would you ask them if you got a chance to interview them? And normally, I get a ton of normal stuff. Oh, ask them about this, ask them about that, ask them about this hero, ask them about that hero, ask about how they got started, that kind of stuff. But with Baumi, I got this weird mixed reception, and I really wasn't sure why. But after a little bit of research and kind of following up with like, okay, so why did you respond this way? Why were you upset that I am interviewing Baumi? I found out that there were two controversies kind of surrounding Baumi. One kind of feels like nothing. This video he made about Seattle and kind of dissing on America after coming here, and the arguments for disliking that tend to be kind of ultra patriotic, which Baumi addresses. I definitely asked him about that video. And you'll hear that in this interview. But some of the other arguments kind of seem to stem from the fact that he was really hating on America after visiting one isolated area. I mean, I guess it was hard for, I didn't have any real heated feelings about this, so it was kind of strange for me that this was that was the case. That so many people were so upset by this. But I understand it. I do get it. I won't say that I necessarily empathize with it, but I understand it. The other controversy where Baumi might be a little bit to blame stems from an interaction he had with the Dota Imba custom game creator. Baumi plays a lot of custom games on his stream, and there was definitely some interaction between he and the creator of this custom game that went into some considerable drama. Involved him getting banned from the game, a lot of commentary back and forth on Reddit. I'm not a big custom game player, but I get that a lot of people are. I get that people felt like maybe Baumi misbehaved. I don't know. We asked him about it on the show. So I tried to let him tell his side of the story. I hope that I don't come across as being overly biased, but I genuinely went into this interview without knowing anything about Baumi and really getting to know him, other than the like couple of days that I like crammed watching some of his streams. And of course perusing Reddit after I found out about all these controversies and that Reddit kind of dislikes him and so on and so forth. I will say that at the end of the interview, I didn't feel like any of those controversies, I didn't feel like they were huge deals. I can understand how people, I can understand, gosh, how best to put this. I guess I get that people get upset. I get that people argue and people fight, and that sometimes maybe people don't like the way a situation's handled. And that people can respond to something in a poor manner. And maybe Baumi did that. Maybe he did that in response to some of the Imba stuff. Maybe the creator of Dota Imba kind of did the same. Maybe they were both kind of equally to blame. Maybe they were both kind of at odds with one another unnecessarily and created a dramatic conflict that, let's face it, Reddit loves, and we all love because we're human. But we're only getting one side of that in this interview. I don't want to get a ton of tweets that say I was overly nice. I asked directly about the controversies. I tried to the best of my ability, as you guys know me, pitch what I saw the other side being in those arguments. And at the end of this interview, I still found the guy charming. I still enjoyed having him on the show, and I'll be honest, I'd have him on the show again. He was funny. He's witty. And he was, my personal experience with him was that he was a pretty nice guy. So I hope that you guys listen to this interview. I hope that you aren't just directly turning the show off because you saw that it's Baumi. And if you are here because it's Baumi, welcome to DotP. Thanks for stopping by. I enjoyed having him on the show. I enjoyed delving into those topics, and I'll say it. I thought that he had some insightful things to say on some fronts. So without further ado, here's the show. Of course, you guys know where to find us, defenseofthepatients.com. You can follow us on Twitter at .p_show. You can also scope out the Patreon, patreon.com/defenseofthepatients. We're doing great there, and we really appreciate all the help you guys give us. And if you want to find Baumi, you should follow him on Twitter at Captain Baumi. You can also check out his YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Baumi. So go check out his stream. If you've never heard of him before and you're hearing him here for the first time, go scope him out, make your own decision. You can find all the videos and all the things we reference with a quick internet search. That's how I did it. So I recommend doing that before you judge and maybe hear his side of the story. So without further ado, here's the show. You are listening to a .p one-on-one. Pyrian Flax, welcome to the show, sir.
Hello.
That is Casey Atchison. Welcome to the show, Casey.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Welcome, Sunsfan.
Hello, friends. It's been a long time.
Mott, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me once again. Very excited to be here.
Austin, Capitalist Walsh. Welcome to the show, Cap.
Thank you very much, man. It's good to be back.
Special guest, Sir Action Slacks. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Hey everybody, welcome to another .p one-on-one. As usual, I'm Cyphus, and today I am sitting here with YouTube personality and Dota 2 content creator, Baumi. Baumi, how are you, sir?
Hello, I'm doing quite fine. It's a little late, but nothing too bad. I tend to stay up far too long anyway. So.
Yeah, well, that's just the life of a gamer, right?
Yeah. No, actually, I still... I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, it's nothing important. I was just gonna say, usually I end up staying up too long because I end up watching Netflix too much. So not too much gaming.
I saw from your latest video you're burning through The Good Wife, which is a show I've never watched.
No, it's very good. It's very enjoyable. Like, I like it. I like it. It starts out a little bit weak, but if you get past the first season, it becomes quite engaging. Anyway, I don't think we're here to talk about TV shows. Although we could do that too. I'm up for that. Although that will then result in me reciting every single episode of House, line for line, from my head.
Oh God! Oh no!
So bad. So
another show I've never watched.
Okay, now
are you a binge watcher?
Yes.
Oh no!
Very much so. I'm sorry, man. But if you haven't seen House, then let me go ahead and start this out by saying you are missing out on literally the greatest TV show ever made. Don't start with season 1. Don't even start with season 2. Start with season 4. Screw the first 3. Like, fuck that shit. All right, go on season 4 and then go from there. And it's incredible. Absolutely fantastic. So anyway, Dota, right?
Dota, yeah. Well, no, actually, before we even get into Dota, I want to know a little bit about you. Where did you grow up?
In Germany. I currently live in Stuttgart, not too far from there. If you're not familiar with the name, it's in the southwest, in Baden-Württemberg. Yes, German, grew up in Germany, and still live in Germany. I like it here. It's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like home. That's always been home. It probably always will be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I spend some time in other places, but usually I always come back here. It's always nice.
So did you, I guess in the States we call it college, but did you go to university at all?
No, I'm actually pretty young. I'm 22 now. Lots of people are quite surprised by that. But no, I'm only 22. I did go to uni for a month, and that may sound exceedingly short. The thing is that university around here is a little bit different from college in the States. University here is free. And as such, it is often encouraged to make sure that you only go to uni when you actually find something that suits you. Because there's no real reason to just force yourself through something that you're not going to enjoy in the long run, since you have basically a free choice anyway. And so I did start going to uni last year for computer science, and I tried my heart out for a month. I really did. I went to every class, right? Every single time there was anything to do with the course, I gave it my best shot. And then I realized this isn't for me, right? Computer science just isn't my thing. So I went and I talked to some people. Actually, my cousin works at the university and in the computer science department, and I spent some time talking to him. And he was like, no, if after a month you feel like computer science isn't for you, you're best just saying, leave it be, and come back, like in a year or two when you figure out what you actually want to do. And I'm currently in no hurry to really do anything. I have my YouTube channel. I'm doing well there. I'm pursuing other things outside of my YouTube channel. Like currently I'm building an Angel Arena game for Dota 2, a custom game, which we're actually going to be doing our first test run this Sunday. And I'm quite excited for that. And yeah, I have my hands busy. I am working every day, multiple hours, plenty, like basically any time I spend working. And as such, I'm really in no hurry to go to university right now. If I end up finding something that I really want to do, then I'll pursue that. But until then, I'm actually quite happy where I am.
Yeah, for sure. That's totally understandable and admirable. Right? I mean, we work to live, not live to work, right? So we should find something we like doing.
Yeah, and another thing is too that my girlfriend wants to go to uni this coming semester here. And as such, one of us really needs to provide mostly, because university really is a full-time job. It's kind of difficult to be able to, have enough money incoming as well to then support yourself. So, I'll probably let her go first, right? She can go in because she knows what she wants to do, she wants to do linguistics, and I don't really know what to do, but I'm happy and I'm making enough money for the both of us. So she'll probably work some part-time job and go to uni, and then I'll be bringing in most of the money to keep us going here. And that's the current plan, but yeah.
Yep. So when did you get into gaming as a kid? What were some of the first games that really got you into gaming?
My very first game that I played was Super Street Fighter. No, not Super Street Fighter. Just Street Fighter 2 on the N. Was it on the NES or was Street Fighter 2 on the SNES? I'm not entirely sure.
I think it was SNES.
Yeah, it might have been. Either way, I remember playing that game in a friend's cellar. Or basement. That's probably better, not cellar. Yeah, and when I was 3 years old. So I've really been gaming my entire life, for as long as I can remember. And one thing that I've always done, though, is I've always picked a single game that I play. I've never been one of those people, I guess most people that play video games, go out and constantly get new ones, always looking for new experiences, right? I tend to pick a game and stick with it. Because I just kind of like it that way, I spent a solid 2 years playing Fire Emblem Path of Radiance on repeat. Because I just really liked that game and I didn't see a need for a different game, right? Then I played a lot of Guild Wars growing up, always playing that with my friends. And then eventually we started playing a lot of Dota. And that was a while ago, and I'm still playing Dota. I kind of got stuck on this one.
Yeah, you're a committer, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there are people like that. There's kind of both ways. There's the people that really like to always get something new, right? And then there are people that are just, hey, I like this thing. Well, I'll stay with this, right? And actually, a lot of Dota players are like that. A lot of Dota players, they mostly just play Dota, right? Especially in more. I guess if you go into the crowd that really cares about how they're doing at the game, you'll see that often they spend most of their time in this one particular game, not really playing anything else. Something that I find quite absurd and quite funny too is when I look for people to play with. I never play Dota without a full party, so I always go into I have a little guild, as I call it, right? It's basically a private chat channel where I invite my viewers into using a bot. They can join, and we kind of have a nice little community like that. But if I'm looking for people to play with, I go in there and I ask, hey, who wants to hang out? And then I usually, like based on the party of people I already have, if I see, okay, our group right now isn't that strong, we can get in really anybody. Or sometimes I have a group of, like, I already have 2 players that are both like 5k, right? And it's like, okay, like this is probably, I can't just invite anybody because it's going to be a little bit tricky, right? And then what I tend to do is I look at people, how many games have they played? And I've come to realize that if somebody has only played 1,000 games, I kind of look at them as somebody, you probably don't know what you're doing. But if you think about it, 1,000 games played is like, how much time spent in Dota? Is that like 800 hours?
I mean, damn close.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's weird to think of a game as, it's weird to think that you could still be new at this game or be a noob in the game to a degree after having invested 800 hours into it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, you look at that, you look at somebody that has played 1,000 games of Dota, right? And then you think, well, I mean, he has played some, but he probably doesn't know that much, right? But that is a completely absurd statement. Because holy shit, I mean, we played 1,000 games of this. I mean, you spend so much time on this. If I spend 800 hours on any game, then I'll usually be considered pretty much an expert, right? But not so much with this one. And
no.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, it's ever evolving. It's always changing. And when you add the 5 heroes on each team element of it with 110 plus options, there's a variation that is difficult to capture in just about any other game. And yeah, I mean, it adds to that variety. It adds to that you need that many more games to have seen that many more situations, I guess, is maybe how I always kind of looked at it. But yeah, it's nuts to think about for sure. When you play, what role do you prefer to play? Oh,
I'm always the position 1 or 2. I'm always the carry. I've always been the carry. Like, when I started playing this game, I started playing it with a bunch of my friends. I actually remember exactly how that went. We went to the Gamescom. Actually, it was the Games Convention back then. It was quite a while ago. It wasn't even called the Gamescom at the time. They rebranded afterwards. But we went to the Games Convention and we were like, all of these setups, like so many setups of Dota. Right, and I looked at that and just like, the fuck is this game? It was just Warcraft 3, but some custom game, right? Like, why are there so many setups for a Warcraft 3 custom game? We were already playing a lot of Warcraft 3, but usually different games. So I convinced them to play Dota with me. And even back then, we already like kind of established that I was kind of like the mid safe lane carry player, and then like my other friend always played the support, and then my other, like another friend always played like the solo, like in the off lane, right? Although that wasn't really so much a thing back then. It was more common to do like the 2-1-2 setup. But still, right? Kind of like how it established, and it stayed that way. And I don't know. I never really got a taste for supporting, right? That wasn't really something that really appealed to me. I like doing it sometimes as like a little change of pace, but I like playing the main heavy hitter guy. I like being the hero, so to speak, going in, beating everybody up.
Well, I mean, you like being the one who kind of gets the glory, right? I mean, there's an element of that in playing carry. I always feel like the guys that I meet, and maybe you are no exception to this rule, but they are the ones who, they want to be in there making the plays. They want to be getting the kill count. They want to see that so-and-so pwn so-and-so pop up on the left-hand side of that screen. Yeah. They get off on it, right? I mean, there's an element of that to it for sure.
It feels good. But another thing I think is worth considering is I make YouTube videos, right? And I make YouTube videos with my games. And frankly, I personally find it more entertaining to watch the cores play than the supports. Because the supports, they spend a lot of time like running around, putting down wards and stuff, right? But with the carries, I guess you have a little bit of a slow early game, but everything you do with the carries ends up really mattering. And that builds a tension in a game that is exciting to watch. And I don't know, something I personally appreciate, and I like to make videos that I would like to watch, right? And so I think there's a decent chunk of viewers that like prefer watching people play the carry role.
Yeah, naturally get drawn to seeing the cores action as opposed to the support action. So, I mean, would you say that you're shooting for more entertainment in your videos as opposed to maybe educational material?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was kind of saying that from like, I mean, I didn't start with Dota 2, because when I started doing YouTube, there wasn't any Dota 2. I started with Heroes of Neurov. And, you know, I really, when I made that switch to Dota 2, I was like, I don't really want to do educational content. That's just not my thing, right? Like, what I want to do is I want to, like, do entertainment here. And yes, I mean, of course, it's kind of unavoidable to have something slip in there once in a while, right? Like, I have played this game forever. I think I'm somewhat competent at it. So, of course, I'll be teaching people to a certain extent, but that was never, like, the main thing for my videos. That's never how I saw it. I like to look at it as a, hey, we are kind of playing the game together. You know, like, I started playing Dota with my friends, and that's really what has always been the most fun to me, playing it with a group of people. And I kind of like, I'm somewhat trying to do that in my videos, except that it's just me and my viewers are my group of people. I know it sounds a little cheesy and dumb, but
hey, that's all right. So here's a question I always like to ask people who create, you know, Dota content, especially creating Dota 2 content for a living. How did your family react to it? Was there, especially your parents, were they kind of accepting of it? Did they encourage it, or was there an element of, hey, maybe you should be going to uni and pursuing that computer science degree?
Well, the thing is that I started doing YouTube when I was 13. Yeah. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been doing YouTube since 2008. And it was like really like a very slow build up. And it wasn't really like ever a question of, you know, can I like commit to this? It was more like when I was done with school, right? Just with regular school, my YouTube channel had grown to a point where I felt at a point where, yeah, you know, like I'm making a bit of money, right? Like I feel like there's nothing wrong with like pursuing this for a little bit. And my mother was like, yeah, sure, I guess, right? So I did a little bit of YouTube, and then I like just for like a few months, right? Like right coming out of school for like 3-4 months. And then I went and did like an internship at something, and then I tried to get into like a specific uni degree, which didn't end up working out, sadly. And at that point, because I've been doing it so long, I guess my mother was so familiar with it that I ended up at a point where it's just like, I'm making enough money, I'm doing fine, right? I'm still young, I want to move out, right? So I moved out from my mother's place at the time, moved to where I am right now, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm doing fine. Right, I'm not really in a hurry. And then I tried to do uni, right? I gave that a shot too, but that again just wasn't really like right, you know, that particular course.
It wasn't the fit.
Yeah, it wasn't the fit, and there wasn't really any pressure. Actually, my mom still tells me that, you know, I need to think about like doing uni and such, but at the same time, it's just like I'm clearly doing fine. There's no reason why this is going to stop anytime soon, and even if it were to, I could still just go to uni just fine, right? I'm not at a point where there's like no return or anything like that.
Yeah,
I'm still young, you know, I still got plenty of time left. Like if I go to uni now, where I start as soon as possible from now, I'll be done by the time I'm 26. Seems fine,
right? Which, yeah, I mean, that's still incredibly young in the grand scheme of things. So, has creating content for Dota 2, do you feel like that's made you a better Dota 2 player in the process?
Oh, no, that has made me worse. I used to pay a lot more attention.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you talk a lot.
I talk
in your videos while you play. I mean, it's almost a stream of consciousness. From, you know, 1 second you're talking about the good wife, and the next second you're talking about how you misclicked, you know, right clicking somebody as Abaddon, or you're talking about playing the latest Zelda game, and then the next you're just kind of a stream of consciousness saying, and I'm gonna right click this so I can increase the attack speed. I mean, is that distracting, or do you think that there are also maybe positive elements to it? Do you think it kind of keeps you from tilting as well?
It's actually interesting, yeah. It kind of goes both ways. You know, like at this point, I have been doing this for such a long time that playing Dota and talking at the same time has become such an integrated process that it's almost as if they just belong together, right? I recently did a replay commentary, right, where that was actually, that was one of my most frustrating days in quite a while, where I spent literally 10 hours trying to record one particular silly team that I was trying to do. Right? And it just had bad game after bad game after bad game, horrible games over and over again for 10 hours. And then I finally get a good one, right? And I get my commentary done, I'm happy with it. And as I go to turn off the commentary, I see instead of pushing record, I had pushed preview, which on OBS looks almost exactly the same. And I hadn't noticed, right? So at that point, I am like, I'm just done. I'm going to bed, right? So I just instantly turned off the computer and went to bed. Right, that felt awful. But at that stage, I'm like, I don't really want to throw this game away. This was kind of a cool game. So I did a replay commentary, which was like the first time I had actually ever done something like that. I always do live. And then it felt really weird, right? Because I was commentating and there's me playing, but I'm not actually playing. And it felt really odd. It was just weird. Because I'm like, but when I do a commentary, I play, right? And it goes the same way. The same thing happens the other way around. You know, like I was just playing a game, wasn't recording anything, just because a group of friends invited me, and I hadn't really like just regularly played without recording in a little while. Because I usually record every single time, just in case it's a cool game, right? Like it's not a matter of I'll use every game. No, absolutely not. But what if this is a 19-minute game with 5 divine rapiers and 10 comebacks? What if this is the one? I might as well record it.
And
right?
You gotta have it.
Yeah, you gotta have absolutely. It. And like in that scenario, like if so, I'll just record it and we'll see. But then I wasn't recording, and also it just felt really weird, right? It's just become such an integrated process. I'm so used to doing it that way that I don't know. I don't really think about it that much anymore, right? I just do it.
Right. So so before the show, I was telling you I hadn't really seen a lot of your content before a few days ago, and I tried to consume as much of it as possible. And in preparing for this interview, I also reached out to some of our community and some other various folks just to say, hey, so I've got this interview with Baumi coming up. What should I ask him about? What should I talk to him about? So I'm gonna preface this by saying I remain a neutral party, but I don't want to be accused of being throwing softballs at you the whole time. So what I have learned is that you're something of a controversial figure in some elements of the Dota 2 community.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, absolutely.
So I know a lot of that kind of comes around. So some of that kind of stems from a bit of a Reddit controversy surrounding the Imba custom game. I've read through some of the posts. I saw your response video to him. Now with some time, now that some time has passed, what have kind of been the latest? Have there been any recent developments? One, in that regard, and two, when you look back on it all, do you wish that you had handled it differently? Do you still feel as kind of right about everything as you once did, or I don't know. How have your feelings about that situation evolved?
Oh, well, okay. I'll just be completely honest with you, right? So the Imba thing, essentially what happened to the people that don't know, right? I'll sum it up from my point of view. Of course, that's incredibly biased and you can't believe anything I'm saying, but I'll do it anyway. But essentially there is Firetoad, right? That's the guy that makes Dota Imba. And from the very beginning, we had kind of a rocky relationship. That's mostly because I didn't like his game that much, right?
Right.
That happens, right? And I honestly, I just didn't really like it that much. And I make videos about custom games. I think it's safe to say that I'm the biggest content creator that makes videos about Dota 2 custom games, because there's really nobody else. Not a lot of people do that. I do. I like custom games a lot. And I am always happy to like help out the custom game community. In fact, in the custom game community, I'm actually fairly popular, at least with like in terms of the people that I interact with, right? I have interacted very frequently with people that have made some of the most popular custom games in Dota. And oftentimes there's a fairly positive interaction, right? And every time somebody is like, hey, can you help me out with this? I'll be happy to help them out. Recently, the guy that makes Crumbling Island Arena asked me to help him out with streaming his tournament, right? And he literally gave me like 8 hours notice on a Saturday evening at 10 p.m., right? He wanted to stream it the next day. And I did. I set everything up. I even made him a short little intro video that, you know, he can now use to present his custom game, which I played on the stream to introduce people to the custom game. I casted his tournament. I did my very best to make it as entertaining as I possibly could, and so on. Right? And, you know, we have a good relationship. I have a good relationship with the guy that makes Epic Boss Fight, and so on. And basically every time, like very often I get emails from people that make custom games. Hey, can you make a video about this game on my channel? And then most of the time, if I find the game to be good, well, actually, what usually ends up happening, if I find the game to be good and interesting, or doesn't even have to be good, just interesting, right? Then I'll make a video, and if not, then I'll give them feedback. Why not? Now, with the Imba guy, it went a little bit differently. Because with the Imba guy, what happened was, you know, like, I had people ask me, hey, you want to try out Dota Imba? Now, back then, modding was at a very different stage than it is right now. Back then, it was much more...
still very new.
Yeah, very new. It wasn't integrated into the client. It was much more difficult to actually play custom games, right? There wasn't just an arcade button. You had to, like, do all kinds of fancy stuff. But I was happy to do that. And so I tried playing Dota Imba. And it was terrible. Not just because the game was incredibly unbalanced. He had done, like, it wasn't balanced, right? Just to give an example, there was a Dagon back then which one-shotted everybody no matter what they did. Right? You could literally buy 6 hearts and you would still get one-shot by the Dagon. So I played Tinker and got Blink Dagger and Dagon and just refreshed and one-shotted everybody. And there was nothing anybody could do. Right? And I was like, oh, this is kind of shit. Like, who wants to play this? And then not only that, but it was incredibly buggy. One of the bugs I experienced, and I actually recorded a video on this, and I have this video, and this video exists on my channel still. One of the bugs I experienced was a player spawning in with 2 heroes, none of which were controllable, one of which spawned in the middle of the map, frozen, instantly fed first blood to the creep wave because, again, it was uncontrollable. At that point, the player disconnected, and every time he would reconnect, he would just disconnect again, completely unplayable for him. Another player lost complete control over their hero. They just couldn't do anything. Just couldn't play, right?
Wow.
And then another point, the game just kind of made this, like, kind of broke to some extent. There was this, like, really high-pitched audio that played, and it made me like, oh my god, I need to, like, instantly mute this, because I was recording this and I just, like, muted the, like, it was super loud, super high-pitched, like, as if you held, like, 2 microphones against each other, you know, that kind of noise, right? Except a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more horrible. It really wasn't very nice, right? And at that point, I was just like, "Fuck this game," right? Like, I don't know why I should play this. This is terrible. And then frequently he popped up into my channel, and I'm like, "No, I don't really want to play your game." Like, I was streaming, right? And he's like, "Hey, you want to play Imba?" I'm like, "Not really. I played it. It's not good," right? And then another thing happened, and as he made a post on Reddit, which was him asking for money on, what was it, Patreon, Indiegogo's Kickstarter, I don't remember what exactly it was, right, one of those. He asked people for money on Reddit. His post was about 90% lies, including none of the bugs that were still in the game. I responded to his post and I told people, well, this is full of shit, right, like, this is a completely broken game, please do not give him his money. I'm not opposed to people doing, like, getting money for their modding. I absolutely think they should get money for their modding. I'm opposed to people lying about what their game is and trying to coax people into paying money for something that doesn't exist. I think that's scamming people. I don't like seeing that, right? So I responded to that, and then he wrote this long response about how by the way, this was literally a week. Do you remember the Skyrim disaster? The Skyrim paid modding disaster.
I don't recall that.
No,
but-
the Skyrim paid modding. So Steam made mods for Skyrim available for purchase, and then they got literally so many emails that they shut it down because they were saying, well, we lost $1 million just because we got so many emails.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah, I left Skyrim behind a while back.
Yeah, it was a huge deal, like, on the internet in general, right? Like, everybody was making a fuss about that. There was literally a week after that, after there was a huge public outcry against this kind of, like, paid modding policy. And then he, like, the guy that is making Dota Imba, left a comment that was essentially, hey, but if people pay me, then I can be the first to, like, make a living off of custom games, and then other people may also be granted this blessing of being hired by Valve or some shit. I don't know. He was completely delusional. He deleted the post later. All right, but it essentially was this, like, grand delusion of him thinking that if he gets paid, then everybody will suddenly get paid. A week after the Skyrim debacle, like, week after that, I'm just like, oh my god. Okay.
Do you think, though, that maybe his argument was that he would be kind of pioneering in that regard? I mean, do you think maybe that was kind of where he was coming from?
That was what he thought, right? But he wasn't, especially a week after that, right? And not even, like, so that's not even, like, the main thing that bothers me, right? It's just like, okay, you're a little bit delusional there, or you missed the Skyrim thing, right? Sure, whatever. What bothers me is that he tried to, like, scam people out of money by lying about his custom game and then, asking people to donate to it. Yeah, of course, people have their own money, people make their own decisions and such. But there's a reason why false advertisement isn't really something that is encouraged.
Sure.
Right, like you.
More, but specifically, I guess the issues you had with his false advertising were that he was maybe advertising that there weren't bugs that were still in existence, or because I'm coming at this again. I'm playing devil's advocate more than anything here. Do you think he was maybe appealing, or was there an element of his post that was kind of appealing for funding to help him continue to develop and eliminate those bugs? Or was he kind of did you feel like he was advertising that those bugs are gone?
He didn't. No. He didn't do either. He just didn't address it. Right. He didn't mention any of it. Again, I'm not opposed to people getting money for their custom games. I actually think I'm actually not on board with the Skyrim debacle as well. I think people in Dota 2, I love that there are those custom game passes. I think they're absolutely fantastic, right? People like, the people that make, mods like Epic Boss Fight and Crumbling Island Arena and Rosh Pit Champions, all of that, right? Or even the Angel Arenas. I think they should be paid. And even at this stage, right, like at this point, at the stage that Dota Imba is right now, I absolutely actually think he should get one of those passes too. Right, like even though I don't like him, even though I think he's an idiot, I think he should get one of those passes because the mod works, it's playable, it's clearly popular, it's good, right? Like it's like objectively speaking good, I would argue, even though it's not my favorite mode. But, and I think he should have one of those passes. Absolutely. He shouldn't have had one of those passes back then. That's just
not
how
the game's progressed, you feel like, at this point.
At this point, absolutely. At this point, his mode is perfectly ready for that, right? And I think at this point, if he made that same post today, I wouldn't complain a bit about it. But that wasn't what happened. So,
right. Do you think maybe some of the backlash that you received was maybe in response to the way that you handle? I mean, even now, you kind of reference the guy as being an idiot. I get that you don't like him, and you have every right to dislike him, of course. But I mean, do you think that maybe the way that you handled it, maybe calling him an idiot or kind of calling him out like that, and especially where you are in a position of prominence, I mean, do you think that was kind of the source of the backlash that you received, or where did kind of that Reddit hate come from?
No,
for that situation?
Oh, the Reddit hate already existed. Reddit at one point decided that they hate me. That's kind of how that goes. Reddit is a kind of a silly institute to some extent because to convince people that somebody is somebody they like, you need a majority of people that like you. and to convince people that, this is somebody we don't like. We just need a majority of people to dislike them. And that majority doesn't even need to be something that exists from the beginning. Instead, it just... Well, no, I'm sorry. Let me actually restart. That doesn't make any sense how I'm currently phrasing it. Reddit is something where it's very easy to have an opinion reinforced over and over and over again. Because the uploaded posts, the things that people upload goes to the top, and the things that people download go to the bottom and disappear. So if you have 3 people in a room, right, and 2 people share an opinion and 1 person doesn't, then it's actually not really that big of a split between, the percentage of how many people like one thing and how many people like the other. However, on Reddit, people will then only see the opinion of the guys, of the people that, share the opinion, right, of the group of 2. Because those are the ones that get upvoted. The solo guy gets downvoted and disappears. And as such, it's very easy to have a tiny negative opinion snowball into a huge negative opinion that is simply based on that tiny original negative opinion. And that's also a difficulty with turning that entire thing around, which is incredibly frustrating, right? So if you now want to turn that around, you somehow need to gain more people that are not in that snowballing process, that are able to unvote that and vote it back to the top and fight back somehow. I don't know. The thing about, so by the way, that was just kind of the preliminary stage of that thing, right? After the whole Imba situation, right? It was the preliminary stage. That's this setup. That's kind of how I got to know the guy, right? That was one of my first initial impressions of it, which was I don't like his mode, and I see him as somebody that's trying to scam people out of money, and something I don't appreciate. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. We always struggle a little bit, and as such, I'm somebody that really values every little bit I have, and I respect other people's money as well. I don't try to cheat people out of anything. On my streams, I always tell people, I see people, hey, Baumi, I'm sorry, I can't subscribe anymore. I'm kind of running a little harsh on money. I'm saying I don't want you to subscribe anymore because this is not that important, right? I'm doing fine. If you're not doing fine, it is much, much more important that you use your money wisely, right? And you don't spend it on something that gives you as little as a Twitch subscription. So I didn't really like him from that stage on, but, I went ahead, and after a little while, I started playing his game, and it's just oh, hey, it's actually a lot better now, right? And I played it more, and it kept getting better and better, although it was never my favorite mode. It was always something that I felt, okay, sometimes because of my recording process of always doing it live, some days I sit here for 8 hours, I record 8 hours long, and I don't have a video at the end of it. That can happen.
Yeah.
Right, and it's incredibly frustrating. On those days, Dota Imba was kind of my fallback plan, because it was just okay, if none of this shit works out, I'll just play an Imba game. That's easy, that's simple. Almost everybody that plays that mode is terrible, so I can just pick any hero and ruffle stomp them, and I have an easy, stupid, dumb, shitty video, but I have a video. All right, and then that...
How many of those kinds of videos do you think that you made along the way?
About 40. I know this because the Fire Toad guy pointed it out. One of his main... so the controversy that you're talking about begins after one day out of nowhere. Out of absolutely nowhere. Because at that point, it's been 2 months since I had last made an Imba video. Right? Mm. And I hadn't ever talked to him one-on-one ever, right? I guess through Twitch chat one time, but I've never really had a direct interaction or anything like that. Out of nowhere, he decides to ban me from his custom game. That hurt. That hurt really, really bad. And it hurt because I always thought, because we already have that Reddit situation, right? And Reddit hates me. There's no other way of putting it, even Sir Action Slacks one time spoke out for me, right? There was this Reddit thread, which for some reason the mods allowed, I don't know why, which was very much a witch hunt, but whatever. Which was essentially like why the fuck does anybody watch my videos, right? And so Action Slacks spoke out to me, and usually so Action Slacks can literally mash his he can mash his head on the keyboard, and he's gonna get 6,000 upvotes, right? Sure. But even he got downvoted, right? Like he ended up with like a vote count of 20 or something, and Slacks was like, I don't know, like, and he didn't even say anything. He didn't even say something like, I like him, right? That would already be going too far. Like Slacks simply said every time, you know, we had interacted, he was a nice guy, and people downvoted him for that massively. And it's just like, you know, there's really nothing I can do there. So I'm already dealing with that, and it was just, you know, a little bit upsetting. And then this happens, right, where he decides to ban me out of absolutely nowhere. And it really hurt me because, again, I feel like I'm alone in this Dota space. Like, I make my videos on my own. I mean, I have my group of friends that I record with, but I don't really have anybody that, you know, makes Dota content really as, like, in my group of friends, really. Apart from Jim. I actually like Jim Ben a lot. I think he likes me too. I really hope it doesn't end up hurting him if I say that. But I get along quite well with Jim. He's a nice guy. Right? But I always
so you're saying this, I mean, this kind of hurt you, like, this hurt your feelings.
Yeah, it really hurt me. Like, really hurt my feelings. Because I always thought I had the modding community behind me, you know, because I always did everything I could to support them. Everything I could to support them, right? Whenever somebody, you know, again, messaged me like, hey, can you take a look at my mode? I would, I'm not usually somebody that responds to a lot of messages people send me or emails, because I don't know, I'm just a little bit not that social of a person. You know, I like being alone a lot. Like, I'm one of the, I enjoy being alone. I don't mind being alone. I find that something where, to relax, I like to spend a few hours on my own. You know, it's just how I am.
Sure.
Right? And, yeah. Oh, 7.03 is out in Juggernaut Arcana.
Yeah, that's what I was just checking my phone there as well.
Oh, God, I think I gotta go. All right.
I gotta see I'm gonna look up a picture of it real quick.
Gameplay updates. Hey, you wanna do an impromptu of these? All right, let me go ahead and just finish this up. Right, so it really, really hurt me because I thought I had the custom game community on my side because I always did everything I could to support them as much as I could, right? Like, I would help them with their games. I would provide them with feedback. If somebody asked me to make videos, you know, like, people would offer me money for videos about their custom game. I'm like, no, I'll just do this. I just want to make a video about this game because I want to support the custom game community because I love custom games. It's something I genuinely love. And then there's this one guy that suddenly decides I'm the worst person on the planet.
But don't you think I mean, it seems, you know, you say that you hurt your feelings. I mean, it kind of felt like, based off of some of his commentary, that maybe he felt similarly hurt.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean...
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to say... Well, actually, I guess that sounded that way. I'm sorry, I'll take that back. There's absolutely blame on me. Right? Absolutely. I was harsh towards him. I was unfair towards him. I'll say that. Right? I had a terrible first impression, which I stand by. I think that first impression, I find understandable that you wouldn't like somebody if, you know, like, I find that reasonable. But I treated him unfairly with how much negativity I expressed towards him. There's no denying that. Right? And yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry about that. I feel bad for that.
Right,
too.
well, let's move on. So the other big controversy that came up whenever I brought up your name was a YouTube video that you made, and I heard some social media comments, but I didn't see them. But regarding your trip to the U.S.
Oh, and really? That's controversial.
That was controversial.
Oh,
well, it
let's
is for
go.
Americans.
I'm ready.
All right. So I'm gonna be absolutely honest here, and I know with the people who shared this controversy with me, my opinion in this regard is not going to be entirely popular. But from my perspective, there were things that you were commenting on as far as infrastructure, right? With the roads, that's one thing Americans complain about a lot. We've had such a battle in Congress over the last 8, maybe 12 years. We haven't really had good infrastructure programs on a federal level, for sure. I think that people in Seattle in particular probably take issue with what you said because they're, of course the roads aren't as good there as they are in Germany. They're half the size population wise, and maybe a tenth the GDP. But I was with you with some of the ways that we use taxes. We don't have to delve into a lot of that, but. Do you wonder? Do you think that maybe there was an element of that video that was maybe a misunderstanding, or maybe you went too harsh on the U.S. after having only visited one isolated area, as opposed to
I find patriotism to be one of the most harmful things on the planet, and the US is a self-described patriotic country more often than not. And the people in the US are more often than not self-described patriotic. Patriotism, I find, is something that attaches you to just things that really don't matter. Right? Now, I understand that some of the things I said were definitely controversial, right? Like the line, well, I guess the title of the video is literally America is my favorite third world country.
Yes.
Yes, which by the way, I stand by that title just because I love that line. I find it hilarious. One important thing to understand is that, especially, like I guess, just in entertainment in general, right? You always got to push a little bit. Right, you gotta push a little bit, because if you don't push a little bit, it's not really that entertaining. And right. As such,
so you kind of view that video as maybe more edgy comedy, or an attempt at comedy than
I see it
like
partially
commentary, maybe.
Yeah, I see it partially as something where it's just like the fact that people are getting upset about this, to me, proves my point that there's something wrong with it. Because there's really, so I have, like, this is one of the big things that I've brought up, right, was the roads, the infrastructure. Yeah. It is atrocious, terrible, wouldn't fly here whatsoever, right? Like, if we had roads like that here where I live, it would take about 2 hours until somebody was like, the fuck is this shit, and goes and gets it fixed. And then it probably takes 3 years in bureaucracy, because we're a little bit slow in that regard, right? But still, right? America as a whole, I actually tend to keep up with politics quite a bit. I find politics quite fascinating. I try to keep my best to keep up with like American and German politics. American mostly as a spectator. And by that I mean as like something, like reality TV. Where you watch it for the entertainment value. Especially recently. I mean, you have done quite a bit in that regard, I would argue.
Sure, I can't argue that.
Right? Like, the spectator value has increased immensely. I honestly don't even remember everything I said in that video. I can, however, I probably can make some very similar points right now, because I do believe a lot of them. Now, an important thing to keep in mind, though, and this is just my opinion in that regard, right? If somebody goes and criticizes Germany, I don't feel personally attacked. I feel like, okay, let's look into that. Maybe you can help Germany as a whole. This might be valuable information. Because I don't see Germany as something that identifies me as a person. I just see it as the place that I live. I like the place where I live. I find it's a good place to live. And, I don't really plan on going anywhere soon. But if you criticize it, I'm not going to be upset with you. Because I don't see a point to that. To me, a place is a place. And people are people. And if you confuse the two, you often run into problems. Patriotism has caused many problems in the world's history, and it's going to continue to cause problems. I mean, I suppose this might result in some controversy again, but I guess I'm okay with that. But I believe that a lot of the social and economic issues and, like just general concerns that happen in America happen because America seems to reinforce that idea that it's the greatest country in the world. You often hear that, like, America number one, America first. America is the greatest place in the world. I mean, there are so many examples of that I have seen. And the thing is, if you're told that something is the best place in the world, and if you're patriotic toward it, and if you love it without questioning, if you love it unconditionally, then you won't be open to changing it for the better. Because why would you want to change something that is already perfect? And that's something I see as an issue. And I understand that it's taking it to an extreme, right? And that not everybody that sees themselves as a patriot thinks that way. But it is a slippery slope, in my opinion. And it leads to that position. And that I see as a problem. So, okay, I understand that some people will get upset at that video, but I didn't actually attack anybody directly. I didn't go and insult Americans. I criticized America. And if that makes you as a person upset, then I think that is an issue.
Babe, and that's fair enough. That's a fair position to hold. All right, so I'm going to move on. We're going to move on from controversy. We're getting out of it. All right. So we're going to have some fun questions here. So first up, what's your current MMR? Where are you standing these days?
Oh, I don't play ranked. I like playing.
Oh, you don't play ranked?
No, I don't play ranked.
That I feel like that's what people who have low MMR say.
No, I actually haven't. I have played a single ranked game in my entire life. In Dota 2, I've played a lot of them in Heroes of New Earth. I've played a single ranked game in Dota 2. I won it, so I like to say I have a 100% ranked win rate.
All right,
that's my stance on that. The thing is that the way I like to play Dota is I like to play random draft with a group of 5 people, like with my friends, right? Doing silly shit for my videos. And you may notice that doesn't really sync up with solo ranked philosophy.
Sure.
I wouldn't really enjoy that. It's not my thing. Like, I used to play a lot of ranked in Heroes of New Earth, right? And I actually got really high there as well. I had a really high ranking in Heroes of New Earth at one point. But I don't know, I just lost that drive after I switched to Dota 2. I was just like, I don't really care. It's just not my thing. I'll play unranked and I'll be happy. I played a single ranked game once accidentally because I got invited into a party and they queued ranked and I wasn't paying attention. But I won it, and now I can proudly say that I have a 100% ranked win rate.
All right, fair enough. So what is on the horizon for the content that you're creating? Is there anything new coming that folks should keep an eye on? I know you mentioned Angel Arena at the start, at the top of the show. You want to give people a rundown of what that's going to be like, what that's going to look like?
Yeah, we're gonna do Angel Arena, which is like a custom game I'm working on, which I'm very excited for. We have done some internal testing, which was really fun, actually. I was really happy about that. Like, I'm lead designing that. I have a lot of people helping me with programming and such. It's an open source project, so if anybody listening to this is interested in helping, feel free to do that. You can find us on GitHub. Just look for Open Angel Arena GitHub and you'll find us, no problem. But honestly, I just really I'm doing my usual stuff, right? One of the big things I'm hoping to eventually do is I want to do some actual proper casting for a studio. That's always my dream. And I'm just experimenting a lot with content right now. Like, actually today I uploaded a video called what was it called? Dota 2 as an art performance, where kind of do a storytelling of something I did recently.
Okay.
Yeah, I quite like that video, right? I'll be honest with you, right? I am feeling a little bit tired out of the content I've been creating recently, and mostly just because I've been doing it for a while. And this happens all the time with me and my channel, right? Like it always is in flux. It's always changing. I've been doing this for so long. You can't always just do the same things over and over again and be happy with it, right? So currently I'm just like experimenting, seeing if I can find some new formats. So actually, if you want to go to my channel right now, then you'll probably see a lot of videos that are a little bit out of the norm, where it's just me experimenting to see, what do people like here? What do people want to see about this? Like, what do people think about this, and do they want to see it?
Yeah, for sure. So along the way, you say you kind of get tired of your content. Have there been points along the way where you've just kind of felt like quitting? Does it ever get kind of overwhelming creating content?
I haven't missed a day of uploading in over 4 years, 4.5 now. I have uploaded.
Wow, that's impressive.
Every single day, no matter what. When I was sick, when I felt horrible for stopping with uni, which was actually like, oh god, I had some really shitty days there, right? Even after that, like Dota Imba controversy, which again, that really like impacted me, and I spent the next 3 days on the couch watching House because I just didn't want anything to do with any of the Dota 2 space. But I always prepare videos. I always have enough videos ready for everything, right? Just for an emergency situation. And I have never really felt like quitting just because I've been doing it so long, I think this is something that's really important in life in general, but there are certain things that you should not treat as a choice, but instead as just something you do. And like, for example, think about it this way. You don't really make the decision to eat. You just kind of do, right? Or drink. Like you make a little bit of a decision in what you eat and what you drink, but in the end, the decision is never do you eat. It's always just what, right? You will always eat. Yeah. And I think it's important to have certain things in life that fall into that category as well, where you treat them as not a decision of do you, just like how or what. And to me, for example, one of those is going to the gym. I go to the gym 3 times a week, no matter what. Even if I don't want to, even if I really would rather just stay at home, which happens quite frequently, but I just tell myself, I don't tell myself anything. In fact, it's not a decision, it's just something I do, right? And the same thing is true for my YouTube channel, where I have a video ready every single day. That is not a do I have a video ready today question. No, the answer to that is always yes. It's just what and how and else that matters. But quitting never really crossed my mind. I would rather change and shift and find something new that I enjoy doing.
Yeah. I know there are people out there listening that would like to be doing something similar to what you're doing. So what advice would you give to people who want to create Dota 2 content, or maybe esports or video game content just in general?
The most important thing is that in the Dota 2 and any, I think, competitive game space, it's incredibly difficult to get recognized just for your skill. And that's something a lot of people seem to do. I actually like to check out smaller streamers quite frequently, right? Every time I stream, at the end of the stream, I host somebody. I don't know, it's just kind of nice, right? Because why not? You got 1,500 viewers, you might as well send them somewhere. Right? Like, there's no hurt. You might as well, here you go fuck up this guy. Not, of course, not actually fuck up, right? But just like, here, have some fun with that person. And I tend to host a lot of smaller streamers, and the thing I often notice is that they sit there in quiet, trying to basically convince people to just stay to look at their beautiful webcam and their gameplay. That's not enough. You always have to consider that there are people streaming and creating content that are literally 9,000 MMR. Right? That's a thing.
Right.
There are people out there where they are literally the best in the world that are creating content. Unless you're dad, just your gameplay won't be enough. So try to do something else. Try to find something that makes it more than just the gameplay. And I think that's really, really important, right? Just try to find something that's more than just the gameplay. Another thing that I find incredibly important, and this just goes to any content creator, is reliability. Right? You want to be a part of your viewers' routine. You don't just want to be something like, imagine this, right? Like, you're on YouTube, you have your subscriptions. You have somebody that you subscribe to that uploads irregularly, whenever. you see a video of them pop up and you're like, shit, well, I don't really have time right now. And then you just skip it and you never end up watching it. That happens, right? Now, if there's somebody that you watch a video of, somebody you're subscribed to, and you know every Friday at 6 p.m. there's going to be a video, then you'll plan for that. Then you'll think, oh, this Friday at 6 p.m. there's going to be a video again. Oh, what time is it right now? 5 p.m. Okay, how about I go take care of this now so I can watch the video later? You become part of somebody's routine. And that's really important. That's really valuable, right? That keeps people coming back because you're now part of their day. So it's very, very important that you have a proper schedule and that you stick to it. And then the last thing that I really want to recommend, actually, wait, two more things. If you get yourself some proper equipment, right? You want, I know, it's always shitty to say there's a bit of a barrier of entry that requires money, but there just is, right? You gotta sound all right. You gotta have like a decent microphone, right? Get yourself, I always recommend the same thing. Go get yourself a Samsung C01U as a microphone. Go get yourself a Logitech C920 as your webcam. Go record with OBS, which is fantastic. Record at 1080p, 60 FPS, and as high of a bitrate as your computer and / internet can handle. Yes. And then the last thing I really want to recommend is make sure you find a format that works for you, right? Make sure you find something that you can actually do on schedule. Don't try to make a video that takes a week on a weekly basis because you have one hiccup and you miss your schedule. That doesn't work. Try, if you make content that takes a week to produce, then your schedule is bi-weekly. Try to find a format that works for your schedule. Like, these two things are very intertwined, but they are very important.
And stick to it.
You stick to it.
Persistence is. I mean, I guess persistence maybe isn't the right word to use there. But
no, absolutely.
Dependability.
No, persistence. I love persistence. I think that's absolutely the right word to use. You gotta just keep pushing, man. I've been at this for 8 years. I didn't get here because I'm the best. I'm just here because I'm the most annoying and never went away.
All right, so I got one last fun question for you before I let you go, and then I swear I am. So there are rumors of a fourth spirit coming into the game at some point. I keep seeing that pop up all over the place. So yeah, they're going to have a fourth spirit. Somebody referenced it in a comic somewhere. Now the rumor mill is spinning. So if there is a fourth spirit, what spirit? What do you think it should be? I
mean, the obvious one is water, right?
I thought water as well. We've already got air, earth, and fire covered, right?
Yeah,
it's got to be water.
But
some people are saying it's going to be a shadow spirit.
Yeah, that's the thing. I actually don't think it would be water, because the fire, the earth, and the wind spirit or the storm spirit, they're based on the Warcraft 3 Brewmaster's Ultimate, right? Like, you split up into the 3 spirits, which are the earth, the fire, and the storm spirit. And in Warcraft 3 Dota, they had to use those models they had a limited supply of models, so they had Brewmaster, the main hero, as a model, who then in his ultimate also transformed into those sub-heroes, right? And then they used the ultimate transformation and made each individual model their own hero as well. Since that wouldn't fit anymore, I don't really think a water spirit makes sense. I mean, it can't really be anything.
Isn't it already covered with Morphling as well? I feel like Morphling already kind of covers the water element.
But it's not a spirit. It doesn't say spirit in its name. It's not the point.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, right? That was the point. It says spirits in its name. I
hope they don't call him Water Spirit. That'll be the lamest name in the world if they call him Water Spirit.
Yeah. No, I'm actually really excited for the next hero. Yeah, it's probably... What do you think it's going to be?
If it's not one of the spirits... I don't know. I could see them doing something completely new. That might, and which, I mean, maybe is a better argument for it being one of the spirits. But I when people ask me that question, I usually default to it's probably time to do something that nobody is, something additional that nobody's expecting. Because what Monkey King was new. He was kind of an offshoot, wasn't he?
No, not really. I mean, honestly, I think if you had asked most people before the Monkey King reveal what they think is the first new Dota 2 hero, after they've done porting everything, I feel like 99% people would have said Monkey King. right? It's just like that was. I feel like that was not really so much a surprise. The bigger surprise with the Monkey King reveal to me was the 7.0 reveal. Like that was what really blew my mind. The next one is I think to me the more interesting one actually. Like oh, by the way, can I go ahead and get a brag in there?
Absolutely.
When they revealed the Monkey King, they made a little trailer, right? I analyzed that trailer, and based on the trailer, I managed to predict every single Monkey King ability except for his passive, which there was no hint of in the trailer, so there was no way to predict it.
All right, you heard it here. Baumi next Nostradamus.
No, I'm so proud of that. Still, I'll keep bragging about that till the end of time.
Well, I appreciate you coming by. I appreciate you shedding light on everything, filling us in about your content, what's coming up. I've enjoyed talking with you. I'll be one. You can add me to the list of people who say that Baumi's a nice guy. All right,
cool. That's what I'm here for.
Now, if you guys want to find Baumi, you can follow him on Twitter at Captain Baumi. That's CaptainBaumi. You can follow his YouTube channel by going to youtube.com/L34UM1. That's a clever way to be Baumi. Oh, is it not that anymore?
No, that works too, but you can also just use Baumi. youtube.com/Baumi works too.
Oh, okay. Awesome. And then you're on Facebook, you're on all the social media.
Don't worry about it. You don't need to mention all of that, right? Like if you go to my YouTube or you go to my Twitter, then you can find everything else from there. It's right there. All right.
Well, make sure you guys follow him on Twitch, all that good stuff. Tune in. We appreciate you stopping by. Of course, if you guys want to follow us, we're defenseofthepatients.com, on Twitter at .p_show. Support the show at defenseofthepatients.com, at patreon.com/defenseofthepatients. You can join the Discord, discord.gg/.p. And that's going to do it for our plugs. Baumi, it's been a pleasure. Really appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, it was fun. I hope I didn't talk too much. I have a little overview of the recording here, and it is mostly me talking, which was tense.
That is the goal. On an interview, I am supposed to get you to talk. I am supposed to do very little talking. So we succeeded there, sir.
All right, good.
All right, until next time, guys. This is Cyphus for Baumi saying good luck and Godspeed.